Hello everyone, Gshock here. Today we're gonna have a look what's inside the Casio G-Shock GA-2200 series watch. How to remove the strap. This is probably the easiest thing to do. Just, unclip this part down here, and there we go. This watch uses a 24mm strap, which is, I would say, same size as most G-Shock watch for the widest part, but for most G-Shock it is 16mm. Keep that in mind. This one straight out 24mm. I mean, there are hundreds of straps that you could buy right now on Amazon, which could fit into this G-Shock watch. So that's gonna be a fun customization project. One thing that I need to point out down here, notice that there's already a rust buildup over here and over here, none at the top. So here is an issue. If you wear your watch throughout the day, and if you sweat and all the sweats got trapped underneath this case over here, which is basically around this area, obviously this part gonna rust. Of course, they separated the screws from the actual locking of the watch back, but over time the rust could also goes in here and then, I don't know, breaking the screws. Not gonna happen today for sure, but in the future, who knows. While we're in the topic, I need to comment a little bit on this part over here. So this is the part that holds the strap. Notice that it is slightly flexible, so I would think that it is not gonna break as easily since it is not brittle. But even if these parts break, at least you didn't break the casing of the watch. So I guess the cost to replace this is a lot cheaper than having to replace an entire carbon core case, right? Here is the stainless steel backplate and some code down there, and also instructions on what to do after you swap the battery. Something that you could easily do yourself at a much cheaper cost. And then here is a cushion on the back, remove that, and there is your movement. Notice that it is also the same as the Casio Oak G-Shock watch movement. Here is an example from the GA-2200 series watch. So it seems like they just recycled the movement, except for the part that this one has 5 buttons, one more down here, whereas on the Casio Oak, just 4 button operations. Alright, here we go. The indices on this GA-2200 is much larger than those on a GA-2100, but let's say I take this movement out and I want to plug it in here. Could it fit? Technically it could fit, but the placement of the LED lights on a Casio Oak is different than those on this GA-2200 series, so the movement cannot go all the way in. Here is the O-ring for this G-Shock watch, which is also not the same from a Casio Oak. Alright, here is the movement. Let's try to remove the index marker, just in case you want to swap things up to different ones in the future. It is, I think, as easy as removing any index marker, especially if you ever try to remove one on a Casio Oak. It's just the same way, just being taped from the bottom, like so. So it's that easy, and if you could find another color variants or even one with a glow in the dark feature, then you could just swap them up very easily and then put everything back into the casing. You're good to go. And then we're also gonna have to try to swap the face dial as well, because that is also an issue that this watch is facing. The texture is just too big, it is blocking the backlighting. In order to do that, we're gonna have to remove this minute hand, the hour hand, and also this sub dial, large sub dial. The problem is that this sub dial has this border around it that's blocking it, so I only have one direct access to remove it and not double way access, the same way as we could do on the hands. But let's try and do it anyway. there we have it, the entire pieces. Of course, I know it looked kind of brutal the way I do it, but well, it works. And also this part is so tough, so strong, quite flexible as well, so it is very hard to break this thing. If you want to be more delicate, hey, by all means, use a proper tools, use more delicate ways, but hey, it works in any way you do it. And I need to point out one thing, that is the glows in the dark sticker for your hands. If you could, I don't know, remove that sticker and swap them up to a different or brighter variants, then here is the face dial for the watch, which surprisingly didn't include this part, so I don't know how they do that. Anyway, this part over here is swappable. This is the texture part that's blocking the LED backlighting. So I guess if I swap this to, I don't know, translucent color variants, perhaps more lights will pass through, and that will probably solve some of our lighting issues, right? Other problem that I need to point out is the digital display over here, which come in negative. Some people are complaining about that. And looking at how the polarizer was placed on top of there, I have a feeling you could just peel this layer off. I think I already scratched that a little bit already. Peel this layer off without having to remove an entire piece. Take this part off and just install a positive display polarizer, and then that probably solve your issues without having to remove an entire movement. So that's gonna be pretty easy things to do, which I didn't have, but I already made a video showing you guys how to perform that modification. Next up is this watch bezel, which I think you're probably gonna have to remove as well if you want to try to clean it up, which is unfortunately will require you to remove all 4 buttons on the side. The watch buttons is quite interesting because it didn't have any of those removable O-ring like some older models. This is more of a built-in O-ring inside of it, so if anything happens you cannot swap those anymore, at least not as easily. Once you remove all 4 buttons, you're gonna have to fold it from the top because there's another hook underneath this bezel right over here. There we go. That's the part, and then you could remove this watch bezel. You don't have to remove the light button because you could just pull it out that way, so no need to do so. And the reason why you have to remove this watch bezel is because that, look at that, the holes is not the same size as the watch buttons. All 4 buttons, so this is gonna be quite annoying process. The bezel is quite flexible, very stiff, and feels very, I have to say this again, very high quality. And this stud at the top is, I believe, 1.5 millimeters, but those are just for decorations. You cannot remove that. If you want to remove this, you'll require to dip this in hot water to make sure that this bezel become much more softer, and then you could just push it out from the bottom there. I don't know why you want to remove that. If you could find a replacement, perhaps different color variants, maybe you want to try to, you know, add some rainbow colors in there, but hey, it's entirely up to you. Here is the watch case, and that minute marker around there was locked underneath the glass, so if you want to change that to glows in the dark version or different color variants, you're gonna have to remove the glass. Aside from that, these are all the parts for this Gshock watch in particular. I hope you guys learned something in this video. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.